Rugby World Rankings, folks, for the 14th of November 2022. A few ups and a few downs. This video is probably a day late because I've been crook. I mentioned in the Scotland-New Zealand video that I had a bit of a sore throat. Well, it got progressively worse. I've been essentially sleeping for close to 48 hours. I finally went to see my doctor today and I knew it wasn't great, the state of my throat, when I opened up and he had a look down there, and this is an experienced doctor, well into his 50s, maybe early 60s, went, ah, yeah, whatever's going on down my throat, some pretty nasty stuff. So, yeah, on some meds now. I'm perking up a wee bit, which is good because there's a lot of rugby on this weekend. But anyway, we'll go through the changes from the most recent games, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how fair or not the rankings are looking, and then some of the possible permutations with the upcoming games this weekend. British and Irish Lions rugby store, by the way, if you want rugby gear. They're not on here, the British and Irish Lions team, but they're a fun team to buy gear for, aren't they? Because pretty special. Up to 70% off some of their gear. I've got a sore throat and I can still chuck in an ad. How good is that? Ireland still top of the log. No change with their big win over Fiji. The gap between those two teams was too much. So, yeah, still comfortably, I say comfortably top of the log, but France, with their win over South Africa, is up from 89.41 to 90.01. I think that's the first time France has ever been in the 90s. So France has closed the gap a wee bit. Yeah, very tight between 1 and 2. And the All Blacks in number 3 still up from 88.64 to 89.15. So, I mean, not a whole heck of a lot between those top 3 teams. There's a wee bit of a gap down to the South Africans with a couple of losses who've dropped a few points, down from 88.41 to 87.81. But still by no means is their kind of shot at jumping up the rankings done, depending on how results go this weekend. England, no change with their win over Japan, still in 5th. Argentina, despite losing to Wales in what was a kind of lackluster game from them, like they didn't really live up to the billing that they've potentially set this season. Yeah, they dropped some points, but not enough to go below Wales. So down from 83.01 to 82.04. But Wales up to 81.26, not quite enough to pass them. So for another week, Argentina are the top 6 sides. Good for Wales to be back on this side of the board. You guys just love hopping in. It's Scotland, Argentina, Wales, and now the Wallabies that just love jumping between both sides of my whiteboard. Hey, speaking of the Wallabies, with that first ever loss to Italy, down from 82.08 to 80.64, that's a big old drop. Yeah, that's a big old drop. So I know Dave Rennie played a somewhat experimental team, which in hindsight is looking like a bit of a mistake. But if everything is in build up to the World Cup, I guess it ain't going to matter, and no one's going to care that they were 8th in November 2022. Scotland, with the loss to the All Blacks, are down into 9th, so 80.23. Although I think based on that performance, there was still enough encouraging signs. I wouldn't be too down about that. Obviously, it's a game you'd like to win, and they had the winning of it if other things had happened. But yeah, 9th is where it is. And then there's a bit of a cut-off, right? You can see from 80 points to 77 for Japan. So Japan has been stuck in 10th forever. No change with their loss to England. Italy's gone up. Samoa has gone up because remember, they beat Georgia. I think it's the first time Georgia's been beaten this year. I think it was a 1-point game. I didn't see it, but I think 19 points to 20 in Georgia. So not a bad result for the Samoans. Fiji, no change with the loss. Georgia down, like I mentioned. So down to 73.19 from 74.51. Tonga, they beat the Chileans, so they are up ever so slightly. And Uruguay, with their win over Romania, which I think initially wasn't logged correctly by World Rugby. Hey, welcome back on my whiteboard. Spain's gone from the whiteboard. Sorry, Spain. I don't have your jersey, so happy Uruguay, folks. They'll be at the World Cup, and they've got a pretty bloody nice jersey, don't they? So well done for beating Romania, 21 points to 16. Just off the whiteboard, you got Spain in 17th, USA and Portugal 18, 19th, and we'll get to them in a minute. Romania 20, Canada 21, Chile 22, Namibia 23, Hong Kong 24, and Kenya down in like 36. Those last 4 teams all lost at the weekend. So what are the possible permutations? Ireland and France are probably going to finish 1 and 2. I say probably because it depends if they win their games. If they lose, they're going to make that job a bit harder for themselves. They could both potentially go down to third if they lose, but they're playing Australia for the for Ireland and Japan for France. So based on world rankings at home, those should be games both those sides should be winning. New Zealand with England, I think, can pass France if they get a 16-point win over the English, even if the French win, if I'm not mistaken. So, that would end the year. Well, it's not over yet, but that would be a nice little flurry towards the end of the year for Ian Foster. A bit of pressure off him because he's been under the pump for a wee while. South Africa, they can't take much off Italy. They're playing Italy. They're going to be smarting after those couple of last results. I think if New Zealand lose though, and which is quite possible, and South Africa win, they could potentially jump back into that third spot. I don't think Argentina can catch England unless England lose and they get a big win or something like that. So it could be pretty interesting. Australia's gonna get a full 2 points if they win and lose nothing if they lose, because the gap between them and Ireland is sadly for them a bit too much. Scotland, I think, could go 8th if they win. So, there's a fair bit of permutations going on, but those are the world rankings for the current round. I mentioned USA and Portugal. They are playing this weekend. It is the final spot at the Rugby World Cup 2023. One of those teams is going to do it. The USA beat Hong Kong and then Kenya, and Portugal beat Kenya and then Hong Kong. So of the 4 teams, 2 of the teams are unbeaten. That is the USA and Portugal. So whoever wins that game is going through to the World Cup. This will be the US's 3rd chance to qualify for the Rugby World Cup. If they miss out on this one, then it's going to be rough, but it would be massive for Portugal to make it. So we'll see how things go. You guys let us know your thoughts on the rankings. I'm going to go rest my throat. It has managed to get through these 7 minutes, but like I said, it's looking pretty nasty. So you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.